in that phrase from Maya Angelou, when people show you who they are, believe them. I've been one of those people who has lived by that. And in a way, I must admit, I've been frustrated with girlfriends when they were out dating bad boys, quote unquote, where the guy didn't show up, or the guy lied, or the guy this or that. And they would start making up stories and say, well, maybe this, maybe that. And I'm like, cut him loose. He showed you, right? That was the shorthand from a friend, not from a psychotherapist or a teacher or a coach. But that was my personal reaction. Like, I really thought and understand there's a lot of value in that. I am not saying throw that out. But this week, I am shocked that I listened to someone who is very aware. She's not Pollyanna. She does not have what we would call these days toxic positivity, which is a positivity that's pasted on over negativity. So those of you who do know the Enneagram, there are 3 types that are called positive outlook types. That would be 9, 7, and 2. And while they do appear cheery, right underneath there are issues of avoidance of conflict, fear of problems, and a real concern that their own needs will not be met. So this positivity is a defense. So that is not the positivity that I'm talking about next. I'm going to tell you what I was struck by, and I'm calling it, my name for it is conscious positivity. And I'm going to explain to you what it is and what I saw might be possible. Now, I'm going to ask you to let go of the election here, because for many people, this is going to come up, and you're going to show me how Maya Angelou is 100% right. I'm not going to argue. There is a lot of wisdom in that saying, if you will, that truth, that wisdom teaching. And yes, my girlfriends who were with the quote unquote bad boys did have more successful relationships when she started believing what these men were showing her. And her expectations shifted. So that's another part of it. But let's let the politics go. Let's let my girlfriends go. Let's let all of the people who you've steeled yourself to protect yourself when the person showed you who they were. So can we start from there and just put all that aside, just so that I can share with you what I learned this week? That's such a gorgeous opening for me. And that's all I want to do, is give it to you, whatever I gain. So let's talk about why we might love this saying from Maya Angelou. When people show you who they are, believe them. What does that protect us from? You and I, if we live this way, it protects us from disappointment. Now, why, as adults, is disappointment such a huge thing? Let's take a breather here. I want you to really listen to this question. And even if you've been, what is she talking about? I don't know if this relates to me. Listen up right now. Listen up. Why is disappointment or the fear of disappointment so huge for all of us, all personality types in various degrees, and we behave differently? Oh my God, when I asked myself that this week, when this person set off this whole trajectory for me by saying she treats everyone as though they're going to come through, as though they can receive everything, as though they are the highest and best. But those weren't her words. They were probably more grounded, but that's what I heard. And I've actually witnessed somebody who does that. My book writing coach, she doesn't take in people's ambivalence. She always believes that there's a book in them, even when people show that they're so ambivalent about writing a book. It seems to me like it was probably not going to happen. And I thought I was more realistic than she. But you know what? One of these people who week after week was a sad sack about her business, and it was this terrible thing and that terrible thing, and the book wasn't being written. And all of a sudden, I'm noticing that that positive, true belief that my writing coach had in her is paying off. So that's just an aside. I've had an example of that. Let's go back to disappointment. As an adult, we know that life is not always going to go our way. We are not going to get 100% of things we want. There's a flow, and nor should we receive everything, because someone else needs to get there something, and it's going to be an ebb and flow. So, what's that about? That we steel ourselves and become defensive. Well, I'm going to expect the worst of you and of life so that I won't be disappointed. And it's the same thing if you have a false positivity, in the sense they're calling it toxic positivity when you say, well, I'm sure everything's for the good. Well, I might be trampling on somebody's spiritual beliefs, and forgive me, but if you look for the good, that's one thing. If you're pasting it on top of what you're really believing, that's another. If you're really believing that life is awful, bad things happen to you all the time, it might be better to start with, let's look at those beliefs. Because if that isn't true either, but if we don't look at it, then we won't find out that it's made of straw, that those beliefs have to do with a story and about your conditioning and about your past. But that's just an aside. Let's stay on the straight and narrow here. That's me talking to me. So disappointment, we're talking about what we have in common when we steel ourselves so that we won't be disappointed. As adults, as I said, we know we're going to be disappointed. So people are going to disappoint us, but is it worse if we thought the best? We thought the very best of them. And They disappointed us. I mean, are we going to crumble? But when did we crumble? As children. As children, we did not have the defenses to know that we can handle disappointment. We can go another way. We can go toward another person. We only had our families. And, as loving as their intentions might have been or not, they were not enlightened people, unless yours were different. And they made a lot of mistakes and they step in doo-doo and their lives were many times not that happy. So yeah, they disappointed us. And as children, can you get with how our hearts might have been broken? Think of a time, I don't know if you can remember, we block these things out. But I kind of remember sort of a feeling of, I thought things were better than they were. And somehow I got the whiff of trouble. It's very young, so I don't have the details to tell you. But I can imagine just feeling it backwards, that it was heartbreaking. And I didn't know my life would be okay. I didn't know they would be okay and that that's life, because nobody was talking about it. Nobody was acknowledging what I saw and what I understood, or that my heart was broken. So it isn't the things that disappointed us that were so huge. It's that we didn't know that that's just part of life. It's no big deal. We don't have to have everything our way to feel okay and in the flow, right? Let's take that in. It's okay to be disappointed. We can live with it. Let's be specific. What if instead of checking out, is this person safe? Is this situation safe? I'm not talking about going to a dangerous place when you travel and being not paying attention to where you're told are the dangerous areas. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a fearful person, maybe a 6 on the Enneagram, maybe a 9, and constantly seeing everyone and every situation through the lens of, are they safe? Well, that means, if they're in your life, I'm assuming they're not that dangerous. There isn't anybody in this community, I don't think, that's in danger of someone physically hurting them or, doing something extreme. So we're talking about not listening to you, hurting your feelings, raising their voice. This was started. Can you get that this program of being careful and defensive was started when you were very young and doesn't belong with the person that you're protecting yourself from disappointment? But let's turn it around. I know I've said this before to many of you in many ways, and you're still holding on. And of course, that's your prerogative. But what if, will you go with me here? What if you started trusting more yourself, that you're an adult and that you would now handle things anew, and you don't need to be punished for the past when you did not do right by someone or something or yourself. Guilt loves punishment. So many of us are still punishing ourselves and we're not living in the present. So let's just say we're going to experiment together this week and we're going to give someone a chance. What if someone believed in you? Let's say you've always avoided a discussion where things might be, in your perspective, adversarial, and something needs to be discussed, and you stay in the conversation, and someone believed in you that you could stay as an adult in present time and speak about what was going on for you. Wouldn't that feel wonderful? Instead of the person thinking, well, they're just probably going to take off. Why might as well not talk to this person. They don't have the skills to talk to me. They always think I'm yelling. They always think I'm going to fight. They always think blah, blah, blah. I'm going to control them or whatever. And they go to their defense. What if someone believe that you could be open and trust them and have a conversation in present time, even if your answer is, I need more time, I don't know yet. I promise I will come back to you. I will put it in my appointment book. I won't just let it go away and disappear and not get back to you. Well, what would that feel like if someone saw you not in your defense, not in your preferred personality strategy? You know, avoiding conflict all the time is kind of like predicting conflict, and you may be doing the exact opposite of what you think you're doing. Being a peacemaker, for example, when you're fearfully checking whether there might be conflict, you're going to be imagining conflict a certain percentage of the time when it's not there. Or people are going to pick up your concern over conflict and they're going to go there. Not because you're controlling people, it's because our feelings and thoughts are contagious. We're more connected to each other than we like to believe. So where is all this going? Who is interested in experimenting with a real, genuine, conscious positivity? I'm thinking of this person who I have no faith in writing a book. Not the one with the business that I talked to you about, but the person who always seems to me to not want to write a book more than she wants to write a book. That's how she's appeared. I have evidence to back that up. That would be my seeing her in my former way. When people show you who they are, believe them, she's not going to write a book. But what if I think of her as having a different timetable, of having a book that's going to be so brilliant because it's coming from this complicated source within her where she had to work through so much with her inner child. It's about conflict resolution in a different way, collaborative divorce rather than divorce in the usual way. And I believe she's experienced being a child of divorce. So you see how this book could be amazing. What would it be like for me to be in a group with this person with me having those conscious thoughts. I'm not ignoring. So it's not the opposite of what Maya Angelou said. I'm not ignoring the signposts. I'm just not using them as the basis of my attitude. Might she disappoint me? Of course. If she asked me to lend her money for this book, right now I think I might, just for the experiment, just because I feel this strongly about what is possible. Because you see, our attitudes toward ourselves and our own support of life and freedom and engaging in edgy things that we'd be scared of. I'm constantly putting myself in scary situations, and I understand that's part of my nature, but I want to do it with more of this support of myself that I'm just now developing, that I'm talking to you about. Who's going to join me? Who wants more of this for yourself and everyone you're intimately involved with? Write to me and say me. All you have to do is reply with me, and we'll do this together.